And now to Bahrain, where a 15-year-old boy is being put on military trial in that country for participating in anti-government protests. Now, rights activists say Yusuf al-Basri will appear before the military court on Sunday. Al-Basri was reportedly tortured while in detention. Now, the regime in Bahrain has been accused of rounding up opposition forces and putting them before military tribunals. A lawsuit has also been filed with the International Criminal Court over the use of violence and torture against Bahraini protesters. This as a group of lawyers from Lebanon, Spain, France and Italy has sued Bahrain and Britain over the suppression of peaceful protesters. Britain has played a key role in propping up hereditary monarchies in the Persian Gulf region and has maintained its support for the unelected regimes, including Bahrain. Well, I'd like to welcome our guests to this part of the program. We're going to take a little bit closer look at what's happening in Bahrain. We're joined by Ralph Shulman, the author of Hidden History of Zionism from Berkeley. Thanks so much for joining us, Mr. Shulman. Well, it seems like the situation is just getting worse and worse in Bahrain. And now we have that children are even put on military trial there. And yet those countries that support Bahrain the most, such as Washington, such as London, we have silence from these capitals. Why is that the case in your perspective?
Well, actually, what's happening at the current moment is, I think, not a bad situation, but an increasingly hopeful one. The reason I say that is because the movement has restarted itself. There have been mass demonstrations, and for the first time in many weeks, in fact months, across Bahrain, across Manama, you can hear the cars honking with the beat, "Down with Hamad, down with Hamad, beep, 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 beep," which was a hallmark of the mass demonstrations. They have returned, and the struggle has renewed. The detention of the 15-year-old is exactly the pattern of what they do with the children who are participating in the protests against the brutal regime, against its exploitation and its terrible torture that has been inflicted upon those who have been held. And this takes place, as you know, within a context of the President of the United States receiving the Prime Minister Khalifa and acknowledging that he is important to Washington and representing that there will be negotiations which will respect human rights, which is completely fictitious, because that announcement by Obama took place on the very day that the military trials were unfolding. Those military trials, I should tell you, I've had two communications from doctors who have been subjected to them. They are tortured. They are tortured with electrical torture, with sexual abuse, and it is ongoing and nonstop. And when the defendants attempt to say to the court that they have been tortured and that any confessions presented as a result of torture, the judge threatened to throw them out of the courtroom if they made any reference to that.
So Mr. Shulman, with everything that you have said as far as what is taking place there with the rounding people up, we have the allegations of innocent people being charged in a military court and standing trial, and of course, as I said earlier, with this 15-year-old, and of course he's not the only child. Why is this met with silence, continued silence from the United States? And as you said, at the same time, they've even had the prince actually as a guest in the White House. Why is that the case?
Because the United States not only depends upon the regime such as that of the monarchy in Bahrain, but is their primary prop and master of proceedings. U.S. imperialism requires these repressive country-selling regimes, in the case of Bahrain and the Emirates, these feudal sheikdoms, to suppress the population and to facilitate the theft of the oil and natural resources of the countries for the benefit of U.S. corporations. That's why these regimes are in place. After all, in Bahrain in particular, this is the headquarters of the Fifth Fleet, the launching point for the aggression of the United States against Iraq and Afghanistan, and all of the weaponry that has been used by the invading Saudi and Gulf forces is U.S. weaponry, from the jet planes, the F-16s, to the Cobra attack helicopters, to the special armaments, and to the nerve gas and chemical weapons that have been used against the population.
Okay, Rav Shulman, author of The Hidden History of Zionism from Berkeley, joining us via Skype. We appreciate you being with us.